Hello friends. So as many of you know, last month I got laid off from Microsoft, and since then I have been interviewing at bunch of different places. Now during that course, I actually got a chance to interview at CIBC, and for those folks who don't know, CIBC is one of the top 5 major banks in Canada, and I had great time speaking with them. I find the interview really interesting, so that's why I decided to make this video to go through my experience and my process, so it could be helpful to anyone else who is actually trying to apply for that position. Now in my case, I didn't make the cut and I didn't end up getting a job, but still I felt that it's worth mentioning to go through my experience and share it with everyone, so at least it becomes beneficial. I'm going to make few things clear from the beginning. First of all, I'm not going to talk about any exact specific questions, because I personally feel that it would be wrong on my part to share with everyone without getting a consent from CIBC. I'm just going to talk about the process, my experience, and what I personally felt that I could have done better, so I would have secured the job. So keeping that in mind, now let's just get started with the experience. Now in this case, a recruiter reached out to me via LinkedIn, and he mentioned that hey, there is this position for the cloud solutions architect where they need a person with Azure background and also some knowledge regarding software architecture. So it fitted perfectly with my skills and I was interested in that. And on top of that, I know a couple of people who are still working at CIBC, and they gave me some insight in what are the inner workings and how things happen, and they only have good things to say about CIBC. So I was actually kind of interested in this position. Now after deciding on the sharing the resumes and getting the job description, we ended up having a first call with the recruiter. Now this, I would say, the first step in the process of the actual job, but personally I was pretty comfortable in my conversation with recruiter. They just asked like general questions that what is your experience, what are the expectations, this position needs these skills, where do you see yourself, and I was pretty easily able to answer all of them. And we basically decided that when should I be available for the next round of interview. So next round of interview was actually going to be a 30 to 45 minute phone conversation with the director of that team, and the purpose of that interview was that director was going to determine that whether I would be a good fit, A, culturally, B, technically. So we ended up deciding on the date, and then we moved on to the second step of the interview. That was the conversation with the director. Now before that conversation, I actually reached out to my friends at CIBC to learn more about the team or the person who I was going to interview. I did some research on them on LinkedIn. I found out that they had been with CIBC for like 15 plus years. Essentially, I was speaking with someone who was very good at what she was doing, and also I felt like I need to prepare more on my part. Now comes the actual interview part. When the director came into the interview, basically she was like 5 minutes late, and I was a bit nervous during that time because I felt that maybe if she is busy or she might not be able to interview me, or did they hire someone else or whatnot. But it turned out like she was just in some other meeting that spilled over a bit, and that's a common thing that happens. Now during the interview, we started with exchanging about introduction about ourselves. Then she mentioned that what kind of candidate they are looking for, what their team does, and what are their future plans. So that gave me a much clearer idea on the type of candidate that they were looking for. And then we started a discussion a little bit more about the role and about the culture and the way things process. Then she shifted the focus towards me, and she started asking me questions that tell me about what you have done in the past, what your experience has been, if you have to deal with something challenging, how would you approach that. So it was more like technical, and on top of that, like more behavioral type of interview, where she would expect me to go through the experiences I have faced and challenges I've been through, things where I had to make improvements, things that didn't go well. And it turned out that one funny thing happened during that interview. Like one of the things we were discussing was with a tool that I used to work at in my previous job, and that tool's name is Data Power. And I started speaking that what were the issues with Data Power we were facing, and how our team approached it and whatnot. And I kept on going for 5 minutes on Data Power, and then she mentioned that she actually used to run a team in CIBC that handled basically Data Power. So exactly what my team was doing, she was handling a very similar team like that at CIBC. So it turned out the conversation was pretty good, and then I felt really good after that conversation. I was hoping that yeah, definitely I'm at least going to get a call for the second round of interview, which I did. So second round of interview, or in this case it would be like the round 3, considering the recruiting round as the round 1. That last round was actually going to be a technical round with 2 of the senior fellows from that team, and essentially that was going to be an hour worth of technical interview, where essentially they are going to dive deep into different technologies and technological decisions and trade-offs. So I would say that it was more of like a system design interview. Hence, we decided upon a date. The recruiter reached out to me. I asked recruiter that did the director had any feedback for me, and he mentioned that yeah, director liked you and she was feeling good about you. So my prospects were looking bright, and I started preparing for the technical interview. Now for the technical interview, I also reached out to the recruiter, asking him a bunch of questions that hey, what do you think I could prepare myself, what are the things that they are expecting. And essentially recruiter was kind enough. He gave me a lot of decent insights on the things I could do, and I started preparing on that. Now it turns out during the actual interview, we started diving deeper into my technical experience. So all the projects I did, what were the technical decisions, what were the technical challenges, why we did thing A rather than thing B, if we chose this, what were the implications of that. And I felt like most of the part it went good, but couple of questions I did like a huge blunder. And the blunder was they asked very simple question about a technology that we were discussing on cloud, and he asked me that how does the payment gateway mechanism work. And I didn't knew that, and I tried to like bluff my way around, and I felt bad that I shouldn't have done that. I should have been honest and just let them know that hey, I don't know about this, and I have never actually get a chance to see it. But I think it was the nervousness that got the best out of me, and I guess that fumble gave me the idea that I'm not going to make it, and that was the ultimate result. Like if I had not done that, maybe the result could have been different. I don't know. It could have been possible that the other candidate they found was spectacular and I was no match. So I'm also okay with that. Congratulate to the other person. But this is something I learned from this interview. And also on top of that, CIBC was one of the very first interviews I did right after being laid off from Microsoft. So I was also not very up to date with my interviewing skills, and that is like a lesson learned for me that I should have prepared better. Maybe I should have done some mock interview practice with some of my friends or some of my tech friends. So yeah, this was my experience speaking with CIBC. Honestly, it's a great place to work, a great company, and if anyone is applying, I wish you best of luck. And let me know what else do you think I could have done better to make this video more interesting. I'm trying to improve my video quality, and your feedback would be really appreciated. Thank you.